What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Barely Pregame Show. I'm Ivan Vargas. Week 9 in the NFL, Monday Night Football, Chicago versus Pittsburgh. It's going to be a good one, in my opinion. That's because I get to watch this guy, Justin Fields, go to work once again. And I think, the only real focus I have on this season, well, to this point, maybe miracles do happen, but I don't think it's going to happen with this team. My main focus is going to be Justin Fields for the remainder of this season. And what he does tonight under the lights, I know it's his second big game, but that first one against the Rams really doesn't count. He wasn't involved as much. This one, he's going to be the starter throughout. He's going to have a bigger role. I want to see what he does against a tough Pittsburgh defense. He played a really tough San Francisco defense last week, and he was able to do pretty well. Wasn't, overwhelmingly great, but I think the game plan was right with San Francisco. What went wrong was the defense didn't show up. The defense didn't hold up their end of the bargain, but it wasn't on Justin. I really believe that Justin Fields took a step last week, and that's going to be a part of our my good news, bad news for tonight. The good news is Justin Fields went ahead and took a step last week. If you saw, he was more decisive with his throws. He was more decisive with his running as well. Over 100 yards on the ground, over 170 yards passing, and I feel like, the more, even through the losses, the Tampas, the Cleveland game, you just continue to see Justin hold his own, answer every question. Sometimes answering questions immediately after the game. He stood in pads down in Tampa and was just answering questions from the media immediately. He holds himself accountable, and that's one of the things that I love the most about this kid. He's not going to give you any BS. He's not going to give you any excuses. Unlike his head coach, he's going to give it to you straight, and if you don't like it, well, deal with it. That's who he is. His play on the field, like I said, it's begun to take some steps, and whether it be chemistry with the receivers or maybe Justin himself learning when to get rid of the ball, footwork, how he's delivering the ball, whether it be that or the receivers. Something needs to give there. I will admit that between him and his receivers, something needs to give. There needs to be some type of connection, some type of chemistry. There's been too many drop balls. He had a drop ball last week in the end zone to Khalil Mack, and I just felt like, enough is enough. We've seen this. We've seen this shit too many times with this team. Your playmakers need to make plays. That was one of my keys last week to a Bears victory. It ended up being a huge point. You have to make plays if you're going to be a playmaker on this team, especially a tight end in the end zone. Khalil Mack, you were drafted high. You were drafted to be, the heir apparent at tight end. You were drafted to be the man. I need to see some more out of you. I need to see some more out of Allen Robinson. I just need to see more all around. It needs to be better all around. That falls on Justin as well. It just needs to be more crisp. Some more good news, and I'll give you guys the good news first. Monty will be back. David Montgomery is active for tonight's game. He will be running tonight for the Chicago Bears, and I'm excited because you pair him with Khalil Herbert. The emergence of Khalil Herbert throughout this season, especially since David Montgomery's been gone. It just gives you a 1-2 punch that, to be honest with you, I don't know really who has one similar. I would say Green Bay. You know what? Green Bay has one similar. They could be something like that Green Bay 1-2 punch. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon have been, so far this season. Now that David Montgomery is healthy, now that you have something in a Khalil Herbert, I think that's exactly what this tandem could be, if not better. And don't forget, you have Damian Williams. He won't be active tonight. He is actually out with a knee, and that is some bad news. He won't be playing tonight, but you do have Monty. You do have Khalil Herbert. You do have those two horses to carry the load for you. I'm happy Monty's back. That's got to give a jolt of energy to this offense. That's got to give a jolt of energy to Justin Fields. He knows he got two guys back there that he could trust. Now, if we get the offensive line moving downhill, it's going to be a good night for the Chicago Bears run game. Hopefully that leads into some play action passes downfield. The bad news is you get your head coach back tonight. So, Matt Nagy returns after a stint with COVID. I was happy as much as anybody else, I guess any other Bears fan was, that he was out last week. You saw a difference in how Justin played. You saw a difference in how the offense operated. It wasn't there wasn't a wrench thrown in the operation last week. There wasn't a weird jet sweep or a crazy motion play that doesn't work and doesn't leave anybody open. There was consistency. There was free play by your quarterback. There was a sense of how do I say, comfortability. Everybody looked comfortable. Everybody looked like, okay, let's find a way amongst ourselves to get this thing done. It was almost similar to like, and I know I know he's fired now, but how Jeremy Colleton a couple weeks ago gave the power play plans to his players. It's almost as like Justin Fields without the coach can go ahead and do whatever he wants and not be handcuffed. It's just weird how that narrative continues to pop up with Matt Nagy and his quarterbacks that just seem to be handcuffed for the most part in this offense. You do what Matt Nagy says and what his scheme says, or you're going to find yourself in the doghouse. And I don't, for a young quarterback, I don't like it. I know Justin has the shit to be the man. We all see it. We've been seeing it consistently. He hasn't had a real big game, but it's been getting better week in and week out. You see the progress. If the coach is halting the progress, something needs to change. That's point blank, period. If this coach is halting this guy's progress, and I'm talking about number one right over there, something has to give. We'll see what happens tonight. Like I said, they were more free last week. I felt the offense was. I felt like they were able to do things that maybe they not necessarily are told not to do, but are just kind of deterred. It's this collaboration idea. You get one thought in there, and it starts spiraling out. Now you don't have a focus on where you want to go. You don't have one voice. You have multiple voices trying to go ahead and lead this team. And I feel like that's the absolute wrong way to go with Justin Fields. You hear Justin Fields talk about Bill Lazor and the comfortability he has with Bill Lazor. Just being able to talk to him. And Bill Lazor's not a world beater himself as far as play calling goes. It's been better than what we've seen with Matt Nagy. But just hearing that your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, your young franchise quarterback is comfortable with one of your coordinators, whether it be you yourself as a head coach or your Bill Lazor as the offensive coordinator, then that's the way to go. That's the direction you need to head. It's all about Justin Fields from here on out. I don't understand how anybody could see it otherwise. That's just what it is. You would think with what happened with Mitch, you would think with what happened last year, you think with what happened so far up to this point this season, you would just stay completely out of it and actually make definitive decisions on who runs what position, who does what in as far as in team meetings, who's running the show. You know what I'm saying? You think you would make definitive decisions on that, but it just seems like the Bears are just kind of everywhere collaborating. I just feel like the collaboration is just kind of, you don't get an answer from this franchise. It's just kind of sporadic. I don't like the collaboration. The collaboration has been crap. Matt Nagy returns tonight though for the Chicago Bears. He will be on the sidelines during this game. And one more bad thing, and I know I alluded to it prior, just the wide receiver quarterback chemistry. Touchdowns. And I know that's something that is going to be a point of emphasis throughout the rest of the season. It should have been a point of emphasis to this offense for the past 4 years. But touchdowns. Too many times. I'm sick of seeing Cairo Santos being marched out there after we've had two sets of downs in the red zone. Hell, within the 40. Once we're across midfield, and we have more than one set of downs, you need to be putting that ball in the end zone. That's the mindset this team needs to have. That's the mindset you need to develop. I know that there may be dramatic change come next season, but as of right now, you as players, if you think of it as a player, you got to go ahead and find a way. You got to find a way to get the ball into the end zone. You got to find a way to execute, and that's been something that's been lacking from this team all season long. It's just missing. There's a big play in a big misplay in the Packer game. Justin missed the guy wide open downfield. There's been a couple missed plays in the Bucs game, and I know the Bucs game probably isn't going to change The score's not going to change. But Justin, the way Justin looks, the way the offense looks, just the outlook of what happened will change. And I just, looking at it now in retrospect, those games might not be different. They might not be different, but it makes your quarterback look better. It makes his confidence go up. It makes you start believing that, hey, maybe we have something here. Maybe we could connect with something here. But so far, it's just been misses from the Chicago Bears receiving core and his quarterback. I mean, Justin Fields, he's got to have some of this blame as well. Some of the injuries we're going to go ahead into the Bears injuries for tonight. Nick Foles will be out with a non-injury personally. They're just probably not going to keep him active. You got J.P. Holtz out with a concussion. Damian Williams out, like I had mentioned, with the knee. And Khalil Mack with a foot. Doubtful is number 4, your safety, Eddie Jackson, with a hamstring. He suffered a hamstring, I think, in the second play last week against the 49ers. He is doubtful for tonight's game. You got Alec Ogletree and Darnell Mooney, both questionable with an ankle and a groin. Looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, out would be Eric Ebron, and that's their tight end, and questionable will be B.J. Finney, center guard with a back. So they're a little more healthy than the Chicago Bears. The biggest one for me is going to be Khalil Mack still. Khalil Mack out with that foot. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know if he's going to go on IR for the rest of the season. I don't know what. The main thing is now that he's out, you need to understand that defensive line needs to step up. We saw how they got pretty much manhandled last week. No sacks, no QB hits, nothing. Jimmy Garoppolo was pristine. The only dirt that he had was from the end zone after scoring 2 touchdowns. So it needs to step up. You need to see something from Eddie Goldman. You need to see something from Bilal Nichols. 2 disappointments so far this season, both of whom I thought were going to take steps. And to me, it's been very disappointing to watch this Bears defense. You talk about how 2018 was, how great how this defense is fading. Well, I think this defense has faded. In the past 3 games, you're giving up 160.3 yards running the football. You're giving up 160 yards running the football. That doesn't win football games anywhere. I'm sorry, it doesn't. You're giving up 239 yards passing the football, but add it up, folks. It's easy math. That's almost 400 yards a game total offense. You have to be able to stop the run. There's no pressure being generated up the middle of this on this defense. Bilal Nichols, Eddie Goldman, you need to step up. Robert Quinn, I need you to be free, man. I need you to go ahead and get some tonight, my man. It's up to you. You're getting paid big money, just like Khalil's getting paid. So there needs to be something. There needs to be something said about that, and I think it's time for you to go ahead and step up once again. And he hasn't been doing a bad job this season. I'm not saying that. I just feel like, in my opinion, big players step up in big games, and it's time for Robert Quinn to take a step up. You'd like to see a Travis Gibson take a step forward. He's been a little disappointing to me. You have a Cassius Marsh. I think they activated him tonight, and also a Kamara. I'm not a big fan of Kamara, to be honest with you. Kamara looks like he doesn't belong. I'm sure he's a solid practice player, but from what I saw last week, he was just getting manhandled. He wasn't generating any type of push. Wasn't getting past any offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers. Just kind of a disappointment. Cassius Marsh, he's been a journeyman. He has some good qualities about him as a pass rusher. But I'm looking at a Travis Gibson. Travis Gibson was drafted relatively high. They talked him up a great bit. I need to see him take a step forward. I need to see Robert Quinn go ahead and continue to impress, because he's impressed all season long. Go ahead and make this a Robert Quinn game. Get after it. Wreak some havoc. I'm not saying you can believe. I'm not saying you can replace Khalil Mack, but you're going to have to do some type of a job in order to at least get some hands on the quarterback. Like, you had no hands on the quarterback last week. It just pisses me off thinking about Jimmy G, as flimsy as his ass has been, not being touched and being able to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. He passed for over 300 yards last week. Let's not forget that. So I need this defensive line, this great Bears defense, to step up. Sean Desai, some of this falls on you. The lack of tackling. It was a cold bitch mother last week. Tackling was not there. It was not there. I don't know what else to say, but tackling was not there. It looked like nobody wanted to tackle. It looked like there was no effort, no will in that Chicago Bears defense. You let a guy go 80-something yards on a wide receiver screen. Disrespectful. I felt disrespected right after that. Deebo Samuel almost puts it in the end zone, but there's no need to fear. The next play got it there. And just disappointing all around in this defense. Sean Desai mentioned that he doesn't need to threaten, doesn't need to, try to yell at his players, something to that effect. Well, you need to do something. Something needs to be addressed. And whether whether you threaten it with a job or whether you just go ahead and take some time away from said player, something needs to be addressed. Something needs to be done. You need to put a focus on tackling the fucking ball carrier. I'm sorry. It pisses me. It pissed me off last week. It still pisses me off today. If you don't tackle the ball carrier this week, you're gonna get run over. Point blank. Period. And that brings me to my other point. My next point. Nanje Harris. Nanje Harris has been a goon for the Steelers team as of late. It's been slow running. It was slow earnings for him early, I would say, through the first 4 games. But in his last 3 games, Nanje Harris, the Steelers are averaging 127 yards rushing in their last 3. And I don't think they had a rushing game. Let me check. I'll double check. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher until that game against Denver. So you went 4 games with under 100 yards. Your best output was week 1 with 75 yards in a win against Buffalo. But then you go ahead and you don't put up any type of big yardage on the ground. You have to credit Nanje Harris. It's been an upkick in carries for him. He's gotten 10 more carries since that Denver Bronco game. And you could see he's kind of leading the way for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Big Ben's been getting the ball out quickly. They've been working off play action. They have threats down the field that can hurt you. You have the Chase Claypool, and you have I forget his name. Deontay Johnson. Both of them can beat you deep. Both of them can beat you inside, outside. They can do it all. So you're gonna have to be disciplined. You're gonna have to make sure tackles break down, wrap, bring the guy to the ground, gang tackle. It's easier said than done, I know, but from what we saw last week, you got to be better than that. That's all I can say. You have to fucking be better than that, or you're going to get embarrassed here on Monday Night Football. Some of the stats you see over here, the Bears defense is the best unit on this team, even though they had a couple of really bad games. They had their 9th in total yards, tied for 14th in points allowed, 24th in yards per play, 22nd, tied for 22nd in turnovers with 8. They're allowing 232.5 yards a game in the air. That's good for 11th, but they're also allowing 125 yards on the ground per game, and that's good for 24th, or not good for 24th. If you look at the Steelers, we go bounce over here. Steelers are the number 2 defense in all of football as far as total yards is concerned, and points allowed. 142 points allowed. That's good for 2nd. 5.5 yards per play, tied for 13th. 6 turnovers. So they lacking on the turnover side, but they make up for it on just great defense. 6 turnovers. I ranked 29th there. 239 yards. 239.7 yards per game. Passing. That's 14th. And you got the running game. That's 106 yards per game. Good for 13th in the league. The Bears the Bears offense. We all know the ineptitude there. Just dead last in pretty much everything. Turnovers are not good. It's just not good there as well. Passing the ball dead last. The best thing this team does is run the football, and that they're going to have to do today if they want any type of chance on winning this game. And I know people are expecting a blowout by the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. But I have a feeling that if you allow Justin to be free, if you allow him to do what he had done last week, and continue to grow. I know he's, like I said, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be mistakes along the way. He's going to take some shots. He's going to gamble. But if you allow him to do that, I think you give yourself a shot here. Run the football. The Pittsburgh offense, they're no better. 31st in total yardage, 132 points for. That's not good at all. 30th. You have 26 in points. 26 in yards per play. 7th in turnovers. 28th in turnovers. 22 244 yards per game. That's good for 15th. 86 yards rushing per game. That's 28th. But like I said, in the last 3 games, it's been 127 yards per game for the Steelers run game. Nanje Harris leading the way there. And not to mention, he does it in both. He does it in the run. He does it with the pass. You could use Nanje Harris. He's just a good all-purpose back for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Something that Ben Roethlisberger has needed since the Le'Veon Bell. I feel like he runs harder than Le'Veon. I feel like he has a little bit more of a nasty streak than Le'Veon. Le'Veon was a little more smoother. I like Nanje Harris. You have to be careful with Nanje Harris. You cannot bring that tackle game into this week and expect Nanje Harris to go down on your arm tackles, on your shoulder tackles. You cannot expect that to happen. He will run your ass over. All right, going into keys of the game, before I go ahead and get out of here and set up the live stream, because I will be talking live throughout the game. The first one, generate pressure up the middle. Let me go ahead and switch that up. Generate pressure up the middle. You have to get some push up the middle on Ben Roethlisberger. You have to try to get him going left to right. We know he's stationary. We know he's not fleet of foot. You have to be able to get to him. You have to be able to knock him off his mark. Force him to make bad throws. He will make bad throws under duress. With somebody coming right at him, he will make those bad throws. Get pressure up the middle. You have to get after Big Ben tonight, especially when he goes gets the play action. You have to be able to get after him. It is what it is. You've been lacking Bilal. You've been lacking Eddie Goldman. You need to get after it tonight. Akeem, if he's in tonight, you got to get after it tonight. If you're those down linemen for the Chicago Bears. Number 2, and this goes for the offense, and I had mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago. Run, play action later. I know this passing offense isn't great. I know we can't just go line up right at them and expect to have big, gaudy numbers in the pass game. But what you can do is lull them to sleep and then catch them off guard. And that's what I think Justin Fields is going to thrive in. That's what I think this offense will find success with. Run the football, work off of play action, find some rhythm, man. If you want to play field position and time of possession, do that. Find a way to win. You could. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and I know Maya will hate that if she's listening, but it's it's just that. Find a way to win. The way that you're going to win any game this season is running the football and working off play action with your young quarterback, downfield with the Mooney, downfield with the Komet, as long as they make plays, because they haven't been doing that for the most part this season. And finally, tackle. Just tackle. If you're the defense, make your fucking tackle. It was embarrassing last week. The Bears I felt like they had the game. I felt like they had the game dead to rights. I felt like they were going to go into the second half and add a couple more points, maybe add another touchdown or 2. They did add a touchdown. They were able to get into the end zone, but with a fantastic run by Justin Fields. But other than that, man, it was slim pickings. You have to be able to make your tackles. You have to be able to slow down this game. You have to be able to keep that offense off the field. So for me, those are the 3 keys for this game for the Chicago Bears. Hopefully to get a victory. Make your fucking tackles, run the football, work off play action later in the game, get pressure up the middle on Big Ben. If I could add another one, don't let Nanje Harris beat you. Don't let him beat you. Too many times running backs are getting out to the edge on this team. Too many times they're getting big plays by getting out to the edge on this team. There's a lot of talk about gap integrity, firing through your gaps, attacking your gaps this week from former Bears on the post game show to pretty much every podcast I've heard of. But you need to be able to tackle this dude. You need to be able to bring Big Ben down, force him to make a mistake. He'll do it. I know he's smart. I know he's been there. Put some pressure on his ass, and he'll make a mistake. I'm going to go with an upset today. I'm going to go with the Bears. I'm going to go with the Bears 24. I'm going to go with the Bears 24, Pittsburgh 20. I'm going to go with a 4-point victory for the Chicago Bears. I feel like Justin Fields steps up in a primetime game. I think they have the formula from what I saw last week. Are they going to be allowed to continue it? And is Justin Fields and his playmakers going to take a step in the right direction this week, as opposed to last week where they left a lot on the football field and left a lot of fans disappointed in Chicago? All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get the live stream ready. I'll be talking throughout the game, in and out, big play, little play. I'll be talking majority of it. First time doing that, so we'll see how that goes. I know I do it a lot for the all day football show, but I'll be talking straight through this Bears game, every play, giving you breakdown analysis and my thoughts. But until then, guys, about 20 minutes until game time, 20 minutes until I go live on the live stream. You've been watching the Barely Pregame Show on Sports Zone Chicago.